Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And I hope you had a wonderful weekend and all ready for some good news. Lots of news this week, actually. Just a couple reminders. Winter semester will be underway next week. So, and there are classes starting, we stagger this class start so that we have an opportunity to be a little more responsive and organized. So we're offering cardiovascular disease, psychology 1, nutrition and immune function, and our very incredible diet, lifestyle, and intervention course. You know, lay people can take these classes too. And sometimes people will take a class just to see what taking a class with us is all about, so they can decide if they want to do more of it. So you're welcome to do that too. And then I have my cancer boot camp is at the end of the month, last Saturday, and then a women's health boot camp. These are virtual, by the way. This is going to be done by Zoom, the women's health one. So very limited, like we did last year with the Optimal Health with Pam workshops. Only 25 can be in the women's health one. So you want to get registered for that if you're planning to attend. And then the annual Food Over Medicine retreat that we do every March. It's an all-day Saturday event that includes lunch, lots of updates on really hot topics that everybody's talking about, and lots of time for Q&A. And that is live in the office. So if you live someplace in driving distance, you know, come take a yoga class on Friday night, and then you can participate in the Food Over Medicine retreat the next day and buy stuff in our store and all that good stuff. All right, so topic that I chose for today came up in a Q&A and in one of my conversations with Pam sessions, and there's so much misunderstanding about it, I just decided that I'll create an article and talk about it in the videos. So I often remind people, and you heard this a couple weeks ago, that medical interventions that start with everybody knows often turn out to be not such a good idea. A couple weeks ago, I covered this when I talked about aspirin. Everybody knows aspirin's good for you, but really, as it turns out, and you look at the medical research, very few people, percentage-wise, actually benefit from taking aspirin. So here's another one. RICE, which stands for Rest Ice Compression Elevation. And that's what everybody knows you're supposed to do if you have an injury or you've exerted too much with exercise, you're training really hard, your muscles are so sore. Now, there are exceptions to any rule, but I can assure you that most people who are trying to heal an injury don't benefit from complete rest, and almost no one benefits from ice. In fact, heat may have healing power much better than ice for reasons that I'll explain to you, and ice actually inhibits the healing process. So in order to understand why I'm saying this, you have to go back and understand some basics. So acute inflammation is an important part of the body's immune system, and it's the body's normal response to infections or injury. Inflammation is one of the ways in which your immune system works to keep you healthy. So many people view inflammation in response to exercise or trauma as negative, but research shows you must have this inflammatory response. It's required for muscle repair and tissue regeneration. So this is different than chronic inflammation that results from being overweight or from having a disease or whatever. This is a different thing we're talking about here. So the repair process starts with the immune system triggering expansion of the capillaries and actually making them kind of leaky, which makes it easy to get increased blood flow. Well, you can increase the blood flow then, and you need that to deliver immune cells like macrophages and neutrophils and monocytes, antibodies, protein, fluids, all to the site of the injury. So the expanded capillaries and the fact that they're kind of leaky makes it easy to get healing stuff there. B cells and T cells destroy pathogens and also the tissue that's been damaged. Macrophages play several roles, including releasing cytokines, which increase the inflammation level, and insulin like growth factor or IGF-1, which fight off bacteria and germs. And the macrophages also gobble up like little Pac-Men the debris that has to be removed from the site. Now, all of this causes swelling, which is designed to protect the damaged tissues. It's a natural thing, the swelling, during the healing process. So this idea that you want to get the swelling down is terrible. It goes down on its own. And in fact, to that point, when the repair process is complete, swelling goes down, signals are sent to the immune system, hey, job's done, we don't need to do this anymore, and you go back to normal. Now, anything that interferes with this process is going to make it take longer to heal or maybe even do damage. So applying ice interferes with healing because cold causes blood vessels to constrict, including those that are near the injury site. This inhibits blood flow to the area, which stops the immune system from doing its job. It delays muscle healing and potentially leads to tissue necrosis and, in some cases, nerve damage. It can take several hours after the application of the ice for the blood vessels to open up again. So, and research is really clear on this. Like I only included a couple of studies here because, these videos don't do well when you cite studies for 20 minutes, but there are a lot of studies that show this. A meta-analysis of 22 studies concluded that there was little evidence to show that ice is helpful for healing tissue injury, and also that compression wasn't very helpful either. Another study that included male subjects who were randomized to topical cooling or sham treatment showed that topical cooling actually delayed recovery from exercise-induced muscle damage. Other commonly used strategies that research shows that interfere with healing are cortisone drugs or injections, medicines used for pain relief, immune suppressants, and cold packs. And by the way, in addition to ice and compression and rest and all that sort of thing, cortisone injections are real common for joint injuries and that all interferes with it. Complete rest also counterproductive. Research shows that loading or stress on tissues caused by muscle activation and contraction accelerates the healing of bone and tissue and skeletal muscle. One study concluded that there are no strategies that are comparable to loading for healing injuries. So again, it's just the opposite of what you're generally told is the case for recovering from an injury. So just to be clear, somebody might be watching this and saying, well, what if you have a broken bone? You can't load that. Like I say, there are exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, if you have a sports injury or you just worked out too hard and your body's all sore and you're feeling like, I probably shouldn't go back in the gym and bench press my weight for a little while, that's what I'm talking about. Or you're in a car accident and you have trauma and you're wondering what to do to heal up this bruised, swollen area or whatever. Don't put ice on it. Don't sit still. Just don't stop moving. Obviously, there will be some limitations, but heat is actually much more healing. And I'll just share this story with you. I had a very severe calf muscle tear a few years ago. I think it was like 10, maybe over 10 years ago now. And it was incredibly painful. And I didn't take any of the pain pills or whatever. I did watch it all night. I knew that if blood pooled, I would have to go have something done with it, but that didn't happen, thankfully. And what I found is that if I wore high heels, because I don't normally around the office, that helped a lot because it kept me from using that muscle in an odd way that would be counterproductive. But I got back in the hot yoga studio and I was very careful about what I did, but I started doing yoga within a couple of days. And you know what? The pain went away really quickly, which made it bearable for me for the time to heal. I did upper body work. I obviously didn't get on a treadmill or do anything like that, but without any intervention other than keep moving to the extent that you can, take yoga, get in the hot room, and I applied heat to it when I was home too. It healed up so fast. And of course, I think that's probably because I keep my weight down and I'm lean and I eat well too. I'm sure that was part of it. But anyway, I had my own experience with this, and I can tell you, you can be back to normal before you know it if you do the right things. Unfortunately, what everybody knows are the right things, yeah, not so much. Okay. Well, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news.